Right, shalom, shalom. Right, we coming back with another Sabbath lesson. Right, we going into the kings of Israel.
That's right.
Right, the first precept I want to kick it off with is Psalms 119 and 111.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and 111.
Time.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 111.
Right.
Thy testimonies have I taken as inheritance forever.
You see that? So, and these testimonies, these things written in the Bible, that's our heritage. That's our history. That's our culture. So we have to be familiar with the kings of Israel. We have to be familiar with the characters, the actual men that walk the earth in the Bible. Right? You know the presidents. You know about Thomas Edison, Thomas Jefferson, Barack Obama, George Washington. You know about them. Right? You know where they were born. Right? You know what they did during their reign. Right? So you got to know that about your kings. You got to know Jehoshaphat. Right? You got to know Zedekiah, Hezekiah, Asa. Right? You have to know these different men. Right? Read.
For they are the rejoicing of my heart.
Right, and these different testimonies, and that rejoices our heart, man.
That's right.
To read about your kings and understand your history, man. That's a rejoicing of the heart. Right, I had another precept for you, man.
I got a quick precept. Get Sirach chapter 19, verse 22. Right, because the brother bringing it out. Right, the so-called black man, what you know about George Washington, right, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, all these wicked, racist-ass Edomites. You should be learning about your forefathers. As the scripture says in Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. You have to learn the way of your forefathers. Learn about King David, King Solomon, Hezekiah, right? Jehoshaphat, right? Learn about these different kings of Israel. You had righteous kings of Israel. You also had wicked kings of Israel. And we're going to go into them most out with them. To bring out Sirach chapter 19, verse 22.
The book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 22.
Right?
The knowledge of wickedness.
The knowledge of wickedness. Right? Jake has the knowledge of wickedness. Jake has the knowledge of how to roll a blunt. Right? Jake know all the amendments, so-called amendments of the U.S. Constitution. Right? You got the knowledge of wickedness. Read on.
The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom.
That's not wisdom. That's not the knowledge that you need in the scriptures. Right? That's not knowing the way of your forefathers. That's not knowing what commandments to keep. That's not knowing your forefathers and foremothers. Read on.
Neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence.
See that? Now give me Sirach chapter 17, verse 11. Right?
The book of Sirach, chapter 17 and verse 11. Besides this, he gave them knowledge.
So the Heavenly Father gave us knowledge. Right? Knowledge of the scriptures. Knowledge itself. Read on.
And the law of life for inheritance.
For what?
For inheritance.
Right, so this is our heritage. Real quick, Ariel, look up the word heritage. Let's go into the definition of that word. Right? So you got definition 1, property that is or may be inherited, an inheritance, birthright, legacy. Right? So this is the legacy of the Israelites. The Bible is the legacy of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Teach you about our history, our ups, our downs, right? Our forefathers, foremothers, the laws we have to keep, our God, our Savior, our future, our past, our present, right? So the Bible is the legacy of the Israelites.
So like real quick, can you put that word legacy?
Right? See, Jake know about the legacy of Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Randy Moss. You need to know about the legacy of your forefathers and foremothers. The culture, right? It's an amount of money or property left to someone in a will. Right? And then the second definition, it's a
yeah, right there it says a thing handed down by a predecessor.
oh, yep, a thing handed down by a predecessor. For example, these commandments was handed down to us by our forefathers. Right? Give me Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 7 real quick. This is why the Lord said teach your children, because you got to hand that legacy down to them. Right?
So like, okay.
Go ahead.
Then it say amount of money or property left to someone in will. It's the laws and Bible represent the money, right? And they left it to us, and they will kind of. You get what I mean?
I get what you say. Because Proverbs chapter 3 verse 13, wisdom is better than rubies and wealth. Right? So this wisdom was left down to us. right? And that's why the Lord says, see thou hurt not the oil and wine, because we still got the knowledge to this day. Although we went through slavery, castration, getting our backs beaten in, buck breaking, right, getting hung, getting lynched, we still got the knowledge of the Lord, right? So this is that legacy and that will that was left to us, the knowledge of the Most High. You got it, brother.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy
So
children.
these commandments you have to teach diligently unto your children. You have to leave that legacy down to your children. Read on.
And shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house.
You got to talk of the commandments or you're going to forget about it, right? Whatever you talking about, that's what's on your mind day to day. So you got to talk about the commandments so you can actually live it out in the physical. Keep reading.
And when thou walkest by the way.
Hey, and when you just strolling by the way, you might be going to get, taking your wife on a date, taking your children to the park. You got to be talking of the commandments on the way to that park, right? Keep reading.
And when thou liest down.
Hey, when you going to sleep at night, right? When you going to sleep at night, you should be, what scripture is that? Oh, let me turn on this Israelite video. Oh, that makes sense because it's such and such precept. And you kind of just meditating on the precepts and the commandments. Keep reading.
And when thou risest up.
And when you wake up in the morning, right? When you wake up in the morning, right, drop down to your knees and give reverence to the Lord. Keep reading.
And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand.
Right? That's not actually talking about tap the commandments on your hand. That's talking about doing the works of the commandments. Keep reading.
And they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes.
Right now, it's not talking about put it down box on your head like the fake Jews. They be putting it down, what's the box they be using? It's not talking about that, man. It's talking about you gotta have the commandments in your mind. Keep reading.
And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates.
Right? Now that could be literal. Kind of write them on your gates. Right? Keep reading.
And it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things, which thou fillest not, and wells dig, which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees, which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten and be full, then beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt.
So in other words, the Lord is saying, don't forget your legacy. Right? Don't forget where you come from. And that's what Jake do when they, they get up, they get ahead in the society, right? They sell out, they get a white picket fence, they get a white woman, and they forget where they came from. Right? They forget about the poverty and struggle of their people. So this is what the Lord's saying. When I give you this riches and this wealth and this land, don't forget about where you come from. Right? You got a point, brother?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Proverbs 13 and 22.
Yep.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 13 and verse 22. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children.
And who are the good men of the scriptures? King Solomon, King David, Hezekiah, right? Samson, Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, Yahushua. A good man leaveth an inheritance for his children. Read on.
And the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just.
Right? Hey, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So you got Esau, they waxing rich and fat in this society. They gonna give all that for the just. Right? I believe it say that in Job. Right? He shall prepare, but the just shall put it on. Right? We gotta get it, but the point is, right, this is our legacy in the scriptures. So we reading about the different kings of Israel. You got a point, brother?
I appreciate it real quick.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 6. Howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of princes of this world that come to naught.
Yep. And that's what we speak. We speak the wisdom from Yahushua. We don't speak the wisdom of this world. We don't have a damn suit on with a damn tie on. We don't do that, man. Right? We not cutting off our beards. Right? We not selling out to the so-called white man. Right? We not getting down with the New World Order. No, we go by the wisdom of the Lord. Okay, mighty precept.
First Corinthians 26. And I just wanted to expound on a little more. Brothers not out here preaching the wisdom of this world. We teach our people the wisdom that we need from the scriptures. The wisdom that come directly from Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah.
Right,
We going into our heritage, our culture, where we come from. That's our wisdom that we need to know. It say, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor the princes of this world that come to naught. So no, we not talking about damn Prince Henry. We not talking about damn George Washington. We don't give a damn about them. We don't care about the princes of this world that come to nothing. So that's not what we up here teaching about. We teaching about our history, our mighty men of valor in the scriptures.
That's right.
Not the princes of this wicked world. We don't care about these. We don't care about these white princes that rose up and did this and did that. Damn Abraham Lincoln. No, we're not teaching about them. We don't give a damn about them. Our people been already brainwashed enough with that folly. That's not wisdom. Those people come to naught. They are nothing.
And that's what the white man want us to know. That's why in the school system, what they teach you about Andrew Jackson, they try to get you to memorize all the 748 presidents.
My teacher had a
At the time, when we was coming up, it was like 45. Right? They want you to know all the damn 45 presidents, 46 presidents.
Right.
We gotta learn all about all these kings we got. Right, but give me some rack real fast, 44 and 1.
Come, the book of Sirach, chapter 44 and verse 1. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us.
Right, you gotta praise your forefathers, man. Mighty men of valor, read.
The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great powers from the beginning.
Right, read.
Such as did bear rule in their kingdoms.
Right, bear rule in their kingdoms, read.
Men renowned for their power.
Right.
Giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies.
Right, they had understanding. They was declaring prophecies. Like King David was a prophet. Right, he just wasn't an ordinary king. Right, read.
Leaders of the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of learning, meet for the people, wise and eloquent
Like wise and eloquent, read.
in their instructions,
Right, read.
such as found out musical tunes
Right.
and recited verses and writings.
Right, and they musicians, man. Right, read.
Which
What
men?
the Lord said?
Which men?
And it was rich men. Right? King Solomon had a temple all gold. He didn't drink of nothing out of silver. It was all gold. Right? That's the kind of men that we was dealing with, right, read.
Furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations.
Right, we wasn't always, in gang wars, getting hunted down by the white man. And we had times when we was at peace, man. Right, we was at peace, we had riches, glory, right, our own land, right, read.
All these were honored in their generations and were the glory of their times.
They were the glory of their times. I want to get a point. This 2 Kings 22 and 39. Just want to make a real quick point. And when you read in Kings and Chronicles, you got to understand this is someone actually taken out. He's what's that, referencing a writing. Like when you on Wikipedia, they got all this information and it's the reference. That's what's happening in Kings and Chronicles. They're referencing an actual book that they were getting this history from. Because Ezra had to rewrite all these things. Right? So bring that up. 2 Kings 1 Kings 22 and 39.
First Kings or second?
First.
Book of 1 Kings, right? Chapter 2, chapter 22,
Right.
and verse 39.
Right?
Now the west of the acts of Ahab,
Right?
and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made,
Right. So Ahab had an ivory house. Right? Read.
and all these cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel?
Right. So they had a book called the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Right? Where you can read in depth about all these acts. Now, do we have that book today? Of course not. Right? But this is an ancient book, had all the history of all these kings. Right? So we just scratching the surface when you read Kings. Right? 45.
Verse 45. Now the west of the acts of Jehoshaphat,
Right?
and his might that he showed, and how he warred,
Right? How he warred, right? We had warriors, right? Read.
Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah?
Right, so it was a book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. You had books of the Acts of Solomon. You had books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. All these mighty books going in depth about these men. Right, because we just read in Sirach 44 that they wrote about these men in their times. They honored them. Right, but the Babylonians came and burnt all this stuff down. Right, this second Esdras. So like you give second Esdras real fast, 14. And I want verse number start at 20. Right, to show the Babylonians they burnt all these books, and Ezra actually rewrote these things, he's referencing those books. Right, bring that up.
Second Ezra, chapter 14, and verse 20.
Alright.
Behold, Lord, I will go, as thou hast commanded me, and reprove the people which are present. But they that shall be born afterward, who shall admonish them? Thus the world is set in darkness, and they that dwell therein are without light.
Right, so Ezra said, I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to rebuke Israel. But after I'm gone, who's going to reprove the people? Right, and he going to explain why he said that in verse 21.
Right, it reads, for thy law is burnt.
Right, they burnt all our books, man. They burnt everything that we had. So the Chronicles of the King of Judah, that book was burnt, man. The Chronicles of the Kings of Israel, that's burnt. Right, read.
Therefore no man knoweth the things that are done of thee, or the works that shall begin.
Right, so I would love to get my hands on one of those books, but they don't exist, man. Because you read some mighty acts in Kings and Chronicles, but it always say, hey, the rest you can find in this particular book that we don't have anymore. Right? I just wanted to get that background story going into Kings and Chronicles, and why it's even referencing those books that don't exist.
Get Genesis chapter 13 and verse 1. Right?
The book of Genesis, chapter 13, and verse 1.
Right, because Abraham was a rich man. Keep reading.
And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him.
Right now, this is Abraham. This is before the nation of Israel was established as a nation of people. Right, because the nation of Israel was established right through Jacob and his loins. Right, keep reading.
Into the south. Verse 2, and Abram was very rich in cattle.
It say Abraham was very rich in cattle. Right, he had oxen, he had sheep, right, he had lamb. Okay, read on.
In silver and in gold.
So Abraham had silver and he had gold. Right, whenever you see Abraham depicted in each church, they make him look like a white man. Right, just clipping up over his own shoe, and he just was poor. He was dwelling in some damn hut. Right, no, Abraham was rich. Keep reading.
And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel.
So Abraham was a sojourner. Keep reading.
Unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai. Unto the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord.
Right, so Abraham called on the name of the Lord. Right, Abraham actually kept the commandments. Get Genesis chapter 26 and verse 5.
The book of Genesis,
Right,
chapter 26 and verse 5. Because that Abram obeyed my voice.
and that's why he was great in riches and wealth, because he obeyed the voice of the Lord. Right, keep reading.
And kept my charge.
He did what?
And kept my
He
charge.
kept the charge of the Most High. Right? That's why we at the bottom, because we don't keep the charge of the Lord. Right? Jake want to put together this business and that business. Well, that's fine and dandy, brother, but if it's not stationed or founded in the commandments, it's going to fall and crumble. Right? Just like Black Wall Street. They weren't keeping the Shabbat day on Black Wall Street. They was eating swine's flesh, man. And what the Lord do to that particular time, he overthrew it. Because the scriptures say, no man shall save you. Right? Keep reading.
My commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
And my what?
And my laws.
And my laws. So that's going to give you your riches and wealth when you keep the laws of the Lord. Now give me Wisdom of Solomon, Sirach chapter 1 and verse 26.
The book of Sirach, chapter 1 and verse 26.
Because ultimately we all kings, man. We all kings and priests. Every brother in this room is a king of the earth. That just states in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 10. But we fell from our low estate because we wanted to go against the laws of the Lord. So the Most High is chastising us right now. We still kings, right? But we're not conducting ourselves as such.
Crown fail.
Y'all crown fell. And we put dust on it. And we wore a hat. As it states in 2 Maccabees 9. We took off our crown and we put on a Greek hat. You got it, brother.
The book of Sirach, chapter 1, and verse 26. If thou desire wisdom,
If you desire wisdom, if you love the Lord, if you love to keep the commandments, if you fear the Most High, keep reading.
keep the commandments.
Do what?
Keep the commandments.
Read on.
And the Lord shall give her unto thee. For the fear of the Lord is wisdom and instruction. And faith and meekness are his delight.
Keep reading.
Distrust not the fear of the Lord when thou art poor, and come not unto him with a double heart.
Now give me Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 11.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 11.
Right?
Wherefore, set your affection upon my words, desire them, and you shall be instructed.
You shall be what?
You shall be instructed.
Right, so we have to desire the words of the Lord so we can be instructed in these last days. Right, so you have many kings that desired the instruction of the Most High, and they prospered as a nation of people. Right, for example, King Solomon. Real quick, let me get 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9. Let's show you an example of a king that desired the Lord and his commandments and was instructed, and the Most High blessed him in riches and wealth and in wisdom. Got it.
Chapter 3 and 9.
1 Kings 3 and 9.
Okay.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 3 and verse 9.
Right?
Give therefore my servant an understanding heart.
Right, so King Solomon, right, when he entered into his hierarchy, he prayed to the Lord for wisdom. Now he could have asked for women, he could have asked for horses, could have asked for chariots, could have asked for garments, but he said, Lord, give me wisdom that I may judge my people. Keep reading.
That I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people?
And that's a huge responsibility to judge a nation of people. All right? That's why even the president, he got senators, mayors, different politicians under him to help him out in his presidency. Right? So King Solomon, right, he had to pray to the Lord for wisdom so he can instruct and judge the people. Right? You got kings and you got priests. You got it, brother.
And it reads, and the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. And Yahweh said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thy enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart.
Right? A wise and understanding heart. So King Solomon was the wisest king that ever walked the face of the earth. Not Mansa Musa. Right? What's some other kings they say? King Henry. King Arthur. Right? These men were not wiser than King Solomon. You got it, brother.
And it reads, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee.
Right? So there was none after like that, neither shall arise. There was none before, neither shall arise after. Right? So King Solomon, he was a special situation. He was a special man. Right? He is Yahweh Shai, if you have ears to hear. Okay? Right? But the whole primary reason the Israelites have kings is because we desire the king. Right? I don't know if the brother gonna bring that up.
We got it. Go to 1 Kings 5 and 12. Right, just to land me back, these kings weren't sitting like butt when we had kings.
Yeah. And the kings actually went to war.
They went to war. They had scribes. They had certain jobs and duties that they had to fulfill. You know, they had councils. Real quick, they had councils. They had everything set up in order to the best of their ability. They weren't chilling around. Google King Bible chart on Google.
They weren't.
Google King on Google.
They didn't have a big ass drumstick, turkey drumstick Like damn,
Kings being in damn movies.
Yeah, damn, got wine everywhere. Just a glutton.
King? Yeah.
King got this.
And real quick, I just want to make a quick point. Our kings actually went to war. Esau and his presidents don't go. I mean, you had the Ukrainian president that was kind of in the midst of that thing, but they're not doing that in America, man.
Just type in king.
Oh, images.
Type in Royal King.
King.
Bang is horrible.
Oh, that's Google.
You gotta go to all images. You
Kind
gotta
of scroll down, King.
Scroll down.
Yeah, you were looking for
He
it.
good.
Scroll down a little bit. Yeah, you see a king on a damn
Look at that one, he chilling.
They weren't chilling like that,
Happy
man.
king on white.
They were moving. They had to set
Yeah.
things up in order.
Turn that thing.
See that?
We sitting down.
And they got happy, and they all Edomites too.
He's like a sloth.
Go down a little bit more.
And you can't be a sluggard as a king.
We can get some precepts.
Go
on that.
down.
Yeah, we
Go
Deuteronomy
more.
16.
I got some precepts on that. Actually, got
Yeah, you get the point. Go back to 1 Kings 5 and 12.
precepts on you.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 5 and verse 12. And the Lord gave Solomon wisdom, as he promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Solomon. And they two made a league together.
Go to verse 1. Who is Haram? Just because you're a king, don't mean you have to go to war with everybody you seek. Right? You have to be diplomatic as a king. You have to know how to be patient, wise, austere. Right? It's a time and place, moving as a king. Go on real quick. You can read it, king.
1 Kings 5 and 1. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon.
Right, Haram is the king of Tyre. This is of another nation. And as we read earlier in verse 12, he made a practice like they had a league together, right? And there was peace between them. Because having a kingdom doesn't mean you have to conquer the whole damn world. That's what Esau does. You have to know how to be diplomatic, when to send troops out, when to retrieve them, so on and so forth. They tell you that in the book of Luke. It's the 14th chapter. Even the king sits at the table before he goes to war. King isn't supposed to be all lackadaisical. He's not lazy. The brother's going to bring out a lot of accounts. But the king's moving in righteousness. And some not moving in wickedness. But nevertheless, the point is, our kings were mighty. Right? Righteous ones, that is.
I wonder precept on it. So the king's not being lazy like these Edomite kings, man. Right? Deuteronomy 17 and 15. It's actually a commandment for a reason for a king. I go bring this up.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17 and verse 15.
Right?
Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
Right?
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee.
Right?
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Right? And that's playing upon tables. Right? We set kings over us all the time as Israelites, man. You set these damn presidents over you, man. Going to vote. Right? That's going on. That's a sin, right, Reed?
But he shall not multiply horses to himself.
Right, this talking about a king. Are you king? You just getting all the horses in the land, man. I'm king. I can do what I want. I want all those horses, man. Right, read.
Nor cause the people to return to Egypt.
Right, don't go back to Egypt for help. Right, read.
To the end that he shall multiply horses.
Read.
For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, you shall henceforth return no more that way.
Read.
Neither shall he multiply wives to himself.
Are you king? You like, you know what? I just want 1,000 wives and that's it. I'm gonna just chill, man. Hey, man, no, you got stuff to do, man. Right, you got war. You got certain stuff to do, man. You a king? I'm gonna get 900,000 wives and chill, man. With all the gold, man. Right, read.
That his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold.
Right, you can't just be multiplying silver and gold just because you do. This is what Esau does, man. Right? Like you said, the king, they always depicted they fat, right? They got a big drumstick in their hand, man, and they getting fed grapes, man, all day. And they don't do nothing. They just point fingers, man. And these men, they was actually putting in work, man. They was actually going to war. Right? They was actually in the midst of the people, right? Judging matters, man. Right? Read. It's like, if you even read that with Pharaoh and Joseph. He kind of gave Joseph the ring and said, yeah, you got it. And Pharaoh was trying to kind of chill him back. And Joseph was governing the nation. Right, read.
It reads, And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priest Levi.
You see that? And then when the king, he actually got to write a copy of the book of the law, man. Right, so he actually had to write down the book of the law, man, and know the law. He had to put in work in this thing, man. Straight like that, man. So the kings, they had a big responsibility to judge and govern Israel. Right? Check it out. Brother brought, see, yeah, put that to the camera.
Like the Moabite.
Oh, good shot.
That's the Edomite kings for you.
Right? That's an Edomite king.
Fat sitting on the throne.
Like fat sitting on the throne don't do nothing, man.
Get Judges chapter 3 and verse 17.
Right? The book of Judges, chapter 3 and verse 17.
I'm going to show you an example of an unruly king. Break it out. Judges 3:17.
The book of Judges 3 and 17. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab.
You had the king of Moab, Eglon. Read on.
And Eglon was a very fat man.
He was a what?
A very fat man.
He was a very fat man. So he was a glutton, man. All he did was eat pork, crab, shrimp, lobster. Damn, probably 8 people, man. Right? You know, the Moabites, they kind of get down in wickedness. Right? So you had this king, he was a very fat man. Right? Keep reading. You don't read about the kings of Israel being out of shape. No, hey man, they was in shape. They was in order. Right? Some of them.
The King David was old and he still wanted to go to war.
That's right.
So, I mean, he was in shape.
Yeah, that's right. Break it out.
Verse 18. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bear the present. But he himself turned again from the curries that were by Gilgal and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king, who said, keep silence. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from Yahweh unto thee. And he arose out of his seat. And Ehud put forth his left hand.
And Ehud put forth his left hand and did what?
And took the dagger.
And took the what?
The dagger.
And took the dagger and did what?
From his right thigh. And thrust it into his belly.
And thrust it into his belly, man. So he stabbed him in his fat belly. You got it.
And the haft also went in after the blade. And the fat closed upon the blade. So that he could not draw the dagger out of his
So
belly.
he tried to get the dagger out. The John was kind of jammed up. You got it.
And dirt came out.
And what?
And the dirt came out.
And the dirt came out.
Eating dirt.
I forgot that part. It said and the dirt came out. Right, so he was fat and dirty, man. Right, so the kings of Israel was not fat and dirty, man. Right, we was in order. Right, give me Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 25.
The book of Deuteronomy,
That'll never get old, man.
chapter 2 and verse 5. Reads, meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession.
Get 1 Chronicles 14, 17. That's what I wanted. 1 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 17.
With First Chronicles, right? Chapter 14 and verse 17 reads, and the fame of David.
And the what?
And the fame of David.
So David was famous. This is before Instagram, Facebook, social media. Right, you had to actually have talent.
There was no Instagram model, you know.
Right, it wasn't none of that, man. So the fame of David went throughout all the lands through word of mouth. Like, man, you heard about that Israelite guy from Charlie Howard? He kind of get down in battle. Right? What's his name? What's his name? Dawud. Right? Break it out.
And the fame of David went out into all lands.
They went out into all lands. It didn't say, oh, it was just in the southeastern part of Jerusalem. It didn't say it was just in that part of the earth or that. It said all lands. Keep reading.
And the Lord brought the fear of him upon all nations.
Upon what?
Upon all nations.
So all nations feared King David because his mighty acts in battle. Right? Shedding blood of man. Right? He was putting to death Amalekites. Right? Philistines, different nations that rose up against the Israelites. Now give me 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 12.
1 Samuel, right? Chapter 12 and verse.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 12 and verse 12. And when ye saw that Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, came against you, ye said unto me, Nay, but a king shall reign over us.
Right, so Israel desired a king due to seeing the Ammonites have a king. You got it.
When the Lord your God was your king. Now therefore behold, the king whom ye have chosen, and whom ye have desired. And behold, the Lord hath set a king over you. If ye will fear the Lord and serve him and obey his voice, and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then shall both ye and also the king that reign over you continue following the Lord your God.
That's why we don't have a set king right now. I mean, our king is Yahushua. He's in the third heavens with Yahweh. But here on the earth, we don't have a king because we didn't obey the voice of the Lord. So the Most High stripped us of those rights. All right? And you can read about that in Hosea. I believe chapter 3 and verse 5. We abode many days without a king, an image, an ephod, so on and so forth. But also give me 2 Samuel chapter 23 and verse. Let's go into some mighty acts of King David. All right. 2 Samuel 23 and start at verse 17.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 23 and verse 17. And he said, Be it far from me, O Lord, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? Therefore he would not drink it. These things did these three mighty men.
Right, so David, he was built different. Right, not only on a physical level, but also on a mental fortitude level. Right, because here it is, he fainting, he thirsty, he down there about to faint, he dehydrated. Right, and you got these three mighty men, they broke into the Philistines' gate and they went to go fetch him some water. And they brought it back to King David. He said, how dare should I drink this, man? It's not this the blood of these three mighty men that hazarded their lives. So he poured the water out. Just imagine that Jake the day he was oh, busted, right? Right? You got it, brother.
And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among three. And he lifted up his spear against 300.
Right?
And slew them.
And did what?
And slew them.
Right, so Abishai slew 300 men. Keep reading.
And had the name among three.
So he was the top guy among those three. So these are the type of men that King David. Is a king running with these kind of men. Right? Now usually the king, you know, of course the king still go to war and things of that nature. The king not just out there getting his hands dirty like that. Right? But hey, King David, he was in the midst of that. Right? He loved the action. You got it, brother.
The weeds.
Because for example, King Solomon, he wasn't into the war thing, man. Right? He was a peaceable king. You got it, brother.
Verse 19. Was he not most honorable of three? Therefore, he was their captain. Howbeit, he attained not until the first three. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in time of snow. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man. And the Egyptian had a spear in his hand. But he went down to him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear.
Right? So he took his spear and he slew him with his own spear.
And you got
Right?
That's not a maneuver.
That's like equivalent to you taking a gun from somebody and kind of jamming them up with their own gun.
I was about to say that, but I keep
Yeah,
quiet.
it's equivalent. We can bring it out. That's like you taking a gun and then pulling the gun on the person you took the gun from.
You do that, man.
That's mighty right there, man.
That's fire.
That's a dangerous man. Break it out.
Take the gun.
These things did Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and had So like these things did Benaiah the son of Jehoiada and had the name among 3 mighty men. He was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not to the first 3.
Now
And
give-
they
Right, so like let's go on that. Give me
Come.
1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 4 real quick.
Come.
Right?
Book of 1 Samuel, right? Chapter 17 and verse 4.
Now this is King David. We're gonna get into some more kings. Because you got brothers that already know about King David. But then you got certain people that don't know about him. But we're gonna get into some kings you may not have known of. Right? Hezekiah. Right? Jehoshaphat. Okay? Amaziah. You got it, brother.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse 4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines.
So he was a champion. All he did was win. This is before Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and what's the other one? This is before all these guys. Rampage Jackson. This is before them. Right? This is ancient world. And men in the ancient world was built different. Right? They didn't paint it, they didn't get their damn nails painted red and green, man. They didn't wear tutus. He said he was a title holder. A person who has defeated or surpassed all rivals in a competition, especially in sports. So you had these Philistines, all they did was kill. They killed for sport.
That's all.
Right?
The Philistines was mighty. The Canaanites was a mighty nation.
Yeah.
People don't understand that.
Yeah.
You got the Hittites. Look into the Hittites, man. The sons of hell.
It wasn't men you just.
Terrified of that.
It wasn't men you just bumped into.
Amorite.
Man. You kind of just bump them. It wasn't them kind of guys, man. You bump them, you might fall down, man. They was big in stature. They looked it crazy, right? 6 fingers, 6 toes. Damn big ass probably plates in their mouth. You know what I'm saying?
They didn't look like the ones they do now. That's not how they look. Yeah, they
Skinny with the big.
And they wasn't going through a famine back then,
Yeah.
man.
It was mighty.
Okay? Right?
About that.
You bring it out, Kenny.
Baruch 3 and 26.
The book of Baruch, right? Chapter 3
Powerful nation, man.
There were giants back there, man.
and verse 36.
Strong nation.
24.
The book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 26.
Okay.
There were the giants, famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature and so expert in war.
So what?
So expert in war.
So these men were great in stature,
Precept on that.
and they was experts in war. It's cool because you were expert in war, but these men were great in stature on top of them being experts in war.
Precept on
So
that.
it's hard to defeat a man like that.
Yeah.
Right? You might got a big guy, but he don't know how to fight. You can defeat a man like that. Like kind of clip him up, beat him down, put him in a headlock, and he's big for nothing. These men were big for a reason, and that was for the purpose of war.
Oh,
Right?
Precept on their height too.
You got it, brother.
Get Amos 2 and 9.
oh.
Amos.
And the Most High, he likes to see, that different controversy in the scripture. So, hey, the Most High might have made these men giants and big just for the controversy of war during the time. Just for that reason alone. Now, we don't know the mind of the Lord, but it's a possibility. That's why the Most High made them so big.
Bring that up to the spirit.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 2 and verse 9. Reads, yet destroy I the Amorite before them,
Right?
whose height was like the height of the cedars.
Right, so he's comparing the height of the Amorites to the height of a tall tree, man.
Go look up the cedars. Look up the cedars of Lebanon, brother. They still got them.
And he was strong as the oaks.
Right, so he was strong as an oak tree, man. You gotta keep chopping it down.
It's hard to get over.
Keep down chopping the tree, man. Right, you read?
Wood itself is heavy, right?
Yet I destroy his fruit from above and his roots from beneath.
Right, so that's all I wanted. So, hey, that's plain, man. So he said they got the height of trees, man. Strong, powerful trees.
Yeah, look up how tall is a cedar of Lebanon.
You just look up how tall is a cedar.
Yeah. How tall are the cedars of Lebanon?
It's
right there. Below it, so it pops up.
No, I told him.
Yep, right
Typically planted in late fall, the cedar of Lebanon tree grows slowly, only adding about 10 to 15 inches a year in height. However, they're known to live upward of 600 years or more and can ultimately reach a height of over 100 feet. Listen,
That's not saying the man was 100 feet, but
yeah, we're not saying the man was 100 feet, but they was tall, man. They was real tall
it's a
men.
metaphor to show how tall they are. Like, dang, he big as a tree, you know, that's how he tall. So he's like, they tall as the damn cedars, man. And it's been 10 feet, 11 feet, man. With big ass spears, with the spearhead half your body size.
Real quick, look up how tall is the average tree. Because they trying to feel like they underplanted. 100 feet, that's tall, man.
That's a very tall tree.
That's a tree when you walk past it, like, you want to kind of notice it, like, man.
That's a very big tree.
Yeah.
The average tree is 50 to 80 feet.
50 to 80 feet.
So
This is tall trees that you see, though, right? 50 to 80 feet, that's a tall tree, but 100 feet,
that's a big ass tree, bro. You know, man. Crazy. That's a big tree, man.
so these men were tall.
Strong as
One that,
I said,
I go back to 1 Samuel 17 and 4.
give his height.
Right? The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17, right? And verse 4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span.
Right. So we can't skip that 6 cubits in the span. Look that up. I looked this up before. Check this out. Let's see how tall
Like
it is.
12 feet, like 11, 12
6 cubits in a span. In feet. Type in feet. Check this out. It says 9 feet 9 inches. So
9 feet.
Goliath was 9 feet 9 inches.
Real quick, look up,
That's the world's tallest man, like
look
7
up Makembe
He
Mutombo.
might be like 10 feet.
Look up Makembe.
But Goliath, this is how they normally look in God.
Look
Goliath
up,
is a normal dude.
look up Makembe Mutombo. Oh, you gotta just wing it. Basketball player.
Yeah, basketball. Yeah, it's gonna pop up.
Mutombo.
He was
Seven.
he was only 7 feet, that's what I said.
He's 7'2", but go to this image though.
Yeah,
This man tall as hell,
damn
man.
Taco, he's 7'6".
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So,
What's
he's
Taco?
like
7'7".
tallest man.
Well, you got Yao Ming, you got
Yao Ming.
Taco, but you also got
Yao
Makembe
Ming.
Mutombo.
I think so. He's 7'7". Big fat.
Right, go to that with Yao Ming, Makembe Mutombo.
He's some tall dude.
Look at these men.
Show the camera.
And Yao Ming,
Somebody flip the camera.
real quick, Yao Ming, I believe is 7'6".
God.
So imagine the 9 feet 9 man.
Look at this. Go back to that. Hold on. Go back to that image. Try to get closer on that.
This should already do it justice.
They say the tallest man in the world was 8'11".
Yeah, I just
The
looked
tallest
it
man in the world is
up.
8'11".
8'11".
No,
He
he's
might be.
9'6".
Well, that tallest man, they jammed up. They be jammed up in their legs,
bad.
right? They be slow.
They need wheelchairs.
They be hurting themselves. They need custom made clothes. Look, these men ain't need that, man.
Look how tall. Imagine, that's 7'6". So imagine 9.
Real quick,
9.
let me just show you.
And they say the tallest man.
Because the picture don't really do it justice.
Like, what
The average man, you gonna be like right here to this man. You're gonna be right here to this man. The average tall guy.
The shortest player in the league was like 5'4". He's like my height.
Look at this. This is so-called world's tallest man at 8'11". And you got them damn 7'6". And then you got Goliath 9'9".
9'9".
Like what the heck? That's a monster.
Right? That's right, 6 cubits in the spine. Right on the verse 5.
Big dude.
And it reads, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head.
So his helmet was of brass. Brass is heavy. Who's gonna put on a brass helmet? Your neck gonna hurt. Your damn neck gonna be jammed up. Right? There's a such thing as having a strong neck as well, man. That's why boxers they do neck exercises, right? To keep your neck strong. Keep reading.
It said upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass.
That's madness. I'm not wearing a coat that's 5,000 shekels of brass. That coat weigh more than you.
You gotta look at that. How much is that? See that?
Yeah, that's just look at it. 5,000 shekels is how much pounds? Shekels of brass.
Shekels is
But it says shekels of brass.
SHEK.
Just look it up in weight. Yeah, it's right there.
In pounds. Shekel of brass in pounds.
Hold on.
Is that 125 pounds?
Hold on.
Nah, but it's saying brass.
No, it said in brass when you search. Right?
Yeah.
It says
Brass. Yeah.
Let's see if it's the same.
Damn.
125.
It's cold. 125.
Bro, that's heavy, bro.
That's folly.
Right?
Bro,
I let him believe it was heavier than that, bro.
That's like a lot of pounds.
It's like wearing a knee.
To go to war with?
Like wearing
That's
a
and
knee.
you gotta hammer. That's kind of crazy, man.
I don't know a human as a coat on.
That's
That's a lot of pounds, bro.
Yep. So we got what? 125 pounds that he just wore on his coat.
And 9 times out of 10, he's talking incorrect.
Yeah.
It could have been more.
I'm ready to believe you.
That's not fair.
Yeah. I'm led to believe it might have been like 200 pounds. Yeah, that's it. I don't know, 191.
Yeah, that's something else. That ain't it.
Alright, brother. Keep reading.
Come. And it reads, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron.
Iron is heavy.
Look, man, bro.
Iron is literally heavy.
600 shekels.
What?
600 shekels of iron.
But it's a count here every time.
Look up that real quick. 600
This
shekels.
account here.
And this is the spear that he's just carrying around.
Yeah, this is the head of the spear.
Just the head of
It
it.
say of iron right there.
Wait.
In pounds. See if they see what Esau talking about.
Esau can't measure that shit, bro. He can't weigh that shit.
How many pounds is a shekel of iron? See that? How many pounds is a shekel of iron? See if it tells you. How many pounds is that? He might can see it.
Turn the thing.
If it's 0.2, if 1 shekel is 0.2, so 300 would be, I don't know,
I
that's
said
saying,
600.
It says
oh,
600.
600.
A couple thousand
pounds.
No, I ain't a couple thousand, it's like 100 something pounds, I would say.
Let's do this. I got
100 something pounds, bro, a spirit.
It's 120.
That's insane.
Nah, it's more than that. It's more
No.
than
I'm doing the math.
that. It's probably
My math something.
Wait, hold on.
0.2 times 300?
See what that says.
no, I say 600. You said 3, bro.
Yeah.
That's 120.
No, that's fine. No.
That's
It's
folly.
point 0.002.
Oh, 0.002.
Yeah.
That's less than that.
500 shekels is 12.
Alright, keep reading. Keep reading on that.
And it says
Oh.
his spear's head weighed 600
Like,
shekels.
yeah, that's right, like 1,500 pounds.
Yeah, he just looked it up. 100 shekels in pounds.
Bro, that's heavy. Look, you're not gonna just.
Tweaking.
Yeah.
2.5.
No one
it's
in here
times.
is carrying that
No,
around.
It's times 6. It's 100.
Oh, wow, I think 600.
Alright, let's see what we got.
So that's a little lower than that. It's only say it's only 15.
Yeah, because you got to do it. One said 1,000. It said 5,000. So that was just cool.
We're gonna go with the 1,500. Keep reading, man.
Yeah, his coat was 100 and something pounds, so
And that was
that's still crazy to
5,000
fight
shekels.
with.
Keep reading.
Spirit is like 1,500.
Right,
It says his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron,
right.
and one bearing a shield went before him.
Keep reading.
And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in wait? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants of Saul?
And we go, Jack.
Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me.
Right, let's skip to the point. Go to
Let me get to some other kings. David all day. 40?
yeah, the point we slayed Goliath.
40.
Yep.
The book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 40. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in the script. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine.
Yeah.
And the Philistine came out and drew near to David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And the Philistine looked about and saw David. He disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance.
Right.
And
It's
the
not
Philistine,
saying he was red. It's not saying he looked like Esau. Right. It just means he was beautiful in appearance.
Yeah, he basically
Right,
looks
looking
like
like
a
a young
young
man.
man. He like, this dude.
Yeah.
That's what they saying against me.
Yeah.
That's basically how you looking like. Yeah, this little guy.
Right. Keep reading.
they say the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with stains? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods.
And then go to the point. Let's go to the point.
All right, kind of jumping down.
Yeah.
49. All right, this is the point. I'm gonna start at 48. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took this a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his head, and he fell upon his face
See,
to
that's-
the earth.
Hey, so David slayed this 9'9" Philistine. Threw a damn rock at his head and it sunk into his face. Right? And he damn gave up the ghost at that point. Right?
It says, so David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in David in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and took upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw it, their champion was dead, they fled. Killed his own damn sword.
That's right.
Stop playing, man.
Right? So
Killed
that
his
was
own
King,
sword, man.
real quick, that was King David, man. So King David was a mighty man.
Cut his head off.
Right? So you had different personalities of these different kings as well. Right? So King David, he had the personality of war, although he was a king.
Right now, I want to touch on just a couple of facts.
Facts about the kings. Brothers know who the longest reigning king of Israel is? And that's right. It's 2 Chronicles 33:1.
Well, he repented.
He repented. The 2 Chronicles 33:1.
Book of 2 Chronicles, 33, right? And verse 1.
Right?
It said Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 50 and 5 years in Jerusalem.
Right. That's the longest reigning king in Israel. The brothers know the second longest reigning king.
Got it up there.
How long did they reign?
40 years.
40 years. That's the wrong answer.
It didn't rank for you?
No, that's the right answer, but they're not the second longest.
No, it's not the second.
It's 2 Chronicles. What the? Not really. 2 Chronicles. You can look into it. 2 Chronicles.
Right?
Trying to find out where exactly it says it.
Jeroboam.
It's not yeah, it is Jeroboam. He's right. Pull that precept. He reigned 50 in 2 years. Let me get that. That book. Oh, somebody grab it. Oh, all right. I want to get Jeroboam real fast.
Yeah, young kings as well.
Right. It's like it wasn't Jeroboam. It's Jehoshaphat. I'm trying to find a precept. Like 1 King 20. Trying to find the exact reign.
Precept on
Now it doesn't show the reign right there. That's not the exact reign. It's just showing his whole rulership. Trying to get where he died. Here it is. No, it's like it is Jeroboam. My bad. Jeroboam II. One of these kings reigned 52 years. That's what I'm trying to find. So Jeroboam II, 2 Kings 14. Right, so you got Manasseh reigned 55 years and Jeroboam II find this. See if it shows it here. 2 Kings. Oh, that's 40. One of these kings reigned, it's like, that's who it is. Get 2 Chronicles 26 and 1. Jeroboam reigned the third most. So get 2 Chronicles 26 and 1.
The book of 2 Chronicles chapter 26 and verse 1. Then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah.
Right, read.
He built a loft and restored it to Judah. After that, the king slept with his fathers.
Right, read.
16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Jechaliah of Jerusalem.
Right, so you got Manasseh reigned 55 years. Uzziah, he actually reigned 52 years. And like the brother called Jeroboam II, he reigned 41 years. And that's in 2 Kings 14. 2 Kings 14 and verse number 23.
Right?
So these are the top three ruling kings, reigning kings. Right? Yeah, you got Manasseh, he reigned 55 years. Uzziah reigned 52 years. And now you got Jeroboam II, he actually reigned 41 years. So you got kings that ruled longer than Solomon and David. And Saul reigned 40 years as well. That's in Acts 13 and 21. Right? Read that up. 2 Kings 14 and 23.
The book of 2 Kings chapter 14, right? And verse 23.
Right?
It says, in the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, began to reign in Samaria and reigned 41 years.
Right, he reigned 41 years. Right? So you got, again, Manasseh, he reigned, and that's 697 BC to 643 BC. That's Manasseh. And you got Uzziah. That's 792 BC to 740 BC. And Jeroboam II, he reigned 793 BC to 753 BC. Those are the top three reigning kings. Now, does anybody know who reigned the shortest reign in Israel? The shortest reigning king ever.
Was it 2 years?
Was it Abraham?
Nope.
It was one of those kings. He just, as soon as he got there, he got killed.
Yeah, he got, yep.
Damn, I forgot
That's
his
going
name.
into Zimri. He reigned 7 days.
Damn.
Right?
Shit, he read a week. He said,
Right, in 1 Kings 16. 1 Kings 16. And I'm trying to actually show there was only 7 days somewhere. Where exactly is it at? I don't want to have to read this whole thing.
I got it.
Yeah, bring
The
it
book of
up.
1 Kings chapter 16 and verse 15. In the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tisra and
Right.
Tirzah.
Right?
And the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines.
It's like that's, but you carry it.
And the people that were encamped heard say, Zimri have conspired and have also slain the king, wherefore all Israel made Omri the captain of the host, king of Israel that day in his camp.
You see that? So Omri was king right after him. So Zimri, he killed the king and took his place, and he died 7 days later. Right? So he was actually king for 7 days. Right? So you got Zimri, he the king, he the shortest reigning king, Manasseh the longest reigning king. Right? So you got all these different kings in different histories. Like, do brothers know who was the king during the Babylonian captivity?
They tell you that in Second Kings 18.
During the actual Babylonian captivity.
I know the king that they
You
Osea.
talking about the puppet king?
Osea
Not
was
the-
the king they
well,
went in with it.
Yeah, Zedekiah.
Okay.
The brother got it right. Zedekiah was the king during
He
the
was king of Judah.
Babylonian siege.
You go to Second Chronicles, 2 Kings 18:24.
You can go to
I was gonna get exactly when he was taking them out.
2 Chronicles 36 and 11.
Yeah, get 1 Kings 25 and start at 1.
The book of 1 Kings, right? Chapter 25.
Because Zedekiah, he reigned from 597 to 586. And that's when Jerusalem was besieged, 589. All right, bring it up.
Let me start 2 Kings. Did you say it?
Slakia, my bad, 2 Kings 25 and 1.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 25, and verse 1. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his hosts, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it. And they built forts against it round about.
Right?
And the city was besieged until the 11th year of King Zedekiah.
You see that? So the city got besieged by Nebuchadnezzar during the reign of Zedekiah. Now, as was besieged before then as well, it got 3 separate sieges. But this is that final siege when they start taking Israel all into captive.
Right.
And that's probably what you're referring to in 2 Kings. What's that, 18?
It's like I'm in 2 Kings 24, 18,
Oh.
17. Where they
And King of
were
Babylon named Mananiah his father's brother king stayed and changed his name to Zedekiah.
Well, you can read that. Bring it up.
Con, the book of 2 Kings, chapter 24, and verse 17. And the king of Babylon made Mananiah his father's brother king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah.
Right, that's called a puppet king. Right? They'll conquer a nation and then they'll make a king basically for diplomatic reasons. They'll make their king a king. They'll basically make a puppet king is what they call it. And that's what he did with Zedekiah. But Zedekiah rebelled, and that's when that final siege happened. Right? And that's during his 11th year. Right?
That's when they rebelled and like someone went to
Right, so he changed his name to Zedekiah. And then he reigned for them 11 years. That 11th year, Jerusalem was besieged.
Did they put his eyes up?
Yeah, they put his eyes out.
His eyes are forced in.
Right, that's we can pull that. Get 6. Let's get in Chronicles. We already in 2 Kings. Let's get 2 Chronicles 36. 2 Chronicles 36. This same account should be in here, right? If not, I'll go back to 2 Kings. This is 2 Kings 25. We go back to there. Yep, and verse 6.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 25, and verse 6.
Right, because he was supposed to be the puppet king. He was supposed to do it what Nebuchadnezzar told him. He kind of rebelled, so he said, we got something for him. And that was the final straw. That's when they burnt the temple and all hell broke loose. Right, bring it up.
2 Kings 25 and 6. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon to Riblah. And they gave judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. And put out the eyes of Zedekiah. And bound him with fetters of brass. And carried him to Babylon.
Yeah, so the last thing he saw was his sons getting killed. Then he took his eyes out of his head.
That's always gonna be in his eye. That's always gonna be in his memory. That's the last thing I see. My sons got killed. That's your last memory of sight. Seeing your sons getting killed. Hair rising. That is torture.
That's bad, man. That's a bad lot right there,
Yeah,
man.
that's a bad lot. But hey.
And then we had one queen of Israel. The brothers don't know, right? We had one queen. That's 1 Kings. Right? We had one wicked queen of Israel that never was supposed to get there.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about.
Right? Give 2 Kings 11
She killed all them. She killed the last.
and 1.
The book of 2 Kings, right? Chapter 11 and verse 1. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal seed.
Right, so basically, Ahaziah, he was killed by Jehu. Jehu actually killed the king of Israel and the king of Judah. Everything went in disarray. So while all hell was breaking loose, she saw the opportunity to say, you know what, this is my chance to be queen, and killed all the damn royal seed. Right, bring it up.
But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash the king, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons which were slain.
Right, but one wise was this sister, right? She took Joash and protected him, right? And he basically became the rightful king, right? Read.
It said which were slain, and they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bed chamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. And he was with her in the house of the Lord 6 years, and Athaliah did reign over the land.
Right, so Athaliah, that was the first and only queen of Israel, and she did it. She basically, while it was in disarray, we had no king, she took the opportunity to... Yeah, no, that's Joash. Joash, that was hit. But Ahaziah was killed by Jehu, because Jehu killed two of the kings. He killed the king of Israel, and he killed Joash.
People were regicide.
And this was before when one king had rose up and killed all his brothers.
No, yeah, about that's the one.
Regicide.
Yeah, that's what I'm about.
REGICIDE. That's what that man did. The action of killing the king. That's terrible.
Alright, committed regicide.
And a lot of these Edomites, when they kill us as regicide, because we're kings of the world. You know?
I want to get that. We're going to commit regicide on Esau. Right.
And righteousness.
Yahweh king.
Yahweh, he's going to be the true first person to make regicide with all these nations and get all their crowns. So that's mighty.
Regicide.
Yeah. That's gonna be a joke in the kingdom. You regicide?
Mass regicide.
Yeah, that's a mighty one right there.
Mass
We
regicide.
gotta put him to the side. We're gonna put him to the side. We're gonna regicide.
He committed a mass regicide.
That's her brother's name, Reggie.
Damn.
That's your king, though.
Alright, precept real quick.
I wanted to bring out
Young king.
Jehu killing them. You got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I was gonna show Jehu actually killing these men. Right, that's in 2 Kings 9. 2 Kings 9 and get 27. Yeah, that's a lot of kings.
The book of 2 Kings chapter 9 verse 27.
Right?
But when King Ahaziah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. And Jehu followed after him and said, smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up to Ger, which is by Ablim. And he fled to Megiddo and died there.
You see that? So he went and killed Ahaziah. And that's when Athaliah came up and see he was dead. She kind of killed off all the royal seed, but Joash was hidden. And then when she got put to death, he was the rightful king. Right, so that's how that thing went.
Information on Jehoash on there.
Jehoash, yeah, we got Jehoash too.
Get 2 Kings chapter 11 verse 21. Hey, so Jehoash, he was a young man when he began to reign. Right, of course you got, priests and men over him to kind of help him out, because you can't make, kingdom decisions at the age of 7 years old. But nonetheless, hey, he was a young king.
And guess what? If that king told you to do something, you gotta do it.
And those kind of kings are called regents, where you rule at the same time.
Yeah.
So while he was young, because it even says it here, they reigned at the same date. Amaziah, I'm going off. Never mind, you got it. But yeah, those are called regent kings when somebody help call the shots because you're too young, basically.
Right. Get 2 Kings chapter 11 verse 21.
The book of 2 Kings chapter 11 verse 21. 7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign.
7 years old was Jehoash when he began to reign. That's
Israel.
He was like,
that's young right there, man. He probably had the eldest kind of frowning.
Give him that.
What does he know? He's 7 years old. Look, hey, the spirit of the Lord, hey, that's how it is, man.
He was the rightful king.
He was the rightful king. You can't go against that.
You gotta deal with it.
You know?
Was that like first grade?
Yeah, that's like, yeah.
First grade.
Some young reigning kings in this
Right
time.
at 12
All
grade.
right, bro.
Yeah, 7 years old,
Right?
He was a young boss, like how Jake said, I'm a young boss.
Yeah, bring out first
Youngest of
Kings
the house.
chapter. It's like your first Ezra chapter 4, right? Verse 1.
The book of First Ezra, right? Chapter 4, right? And verse 1. It say, then the second that has spoken of the strength of the king began to say, O ye men, do not men excel in strength that bear rule of the sea and land and all things in them?
Go ahead.
But yet the king is more mighty, for he is Lord of all these things.
Hey, he was Lord over all these things, especially as he began to grow. He had more, authority to exercise his and the third.
He was getting trained from a young age.
That's right.
It ain't that he not just okay. He the king, but we just want to just let him grow up and just do his thing. No, they training him from a young age to understand the law, understand judgment. Because this is the man that's going to have, the kingdom within his hands when he become of age.
That's right.
So you can't just
Here you go.
Here you go, and you just let it go. You're slacking, remiss. Jake put a damn tablet in front of the child face now.
At 7 years old.
ABC 1, 2, 3.
You know.
They don't teach him anything about war, politics. They don't teach none of those things. How to deal with this, knowing the currency of the land, right? Knowing what's worth this much, what's worth that much. Because Israel, you had economics back then, man. You had to know how to grow things. You had to know when you could grow things. As a king, you had to govern all these things. One more precept. Go to 1 Kings 4, and it's like it. 1 Ezra chapter 4, verse 2 again. It's like verse 3 again.
First Ezra 4 and 3 again, but yet the king is more mighty, for he is Lord of all these things, and has dominion over them, and whatsoever he commanded them to do.
And jump down to verse 12.
Verse 12. O ye men, how should not the king be mightiest when in such sort he is obeyed? And he held his tongue.
See? There's only so much you can say when somebody says the kings are strongest, man. Of course, you say the truth. Obviously, the truth is the strongest. But like under the tree, you got pretty much the king.
That's right.
King say slay, he's going to slay. King say do this, and he's done. He's a goner. Off with his head.
That's what King David said, fall upon him.
Yeah, he said fall upon him. He fell upon him. That slave Saul.
That's right.
Kind of took his stuff.
He said I killed Saul.
Yeah. And guess what? The soldiers, they don't hesitate. They don't say, are you sure? Maybe you should think about it again. They hurry up and stab him and fall upon him. Because the Lord set all of that up, man. The Lord allowed the king to have dominion over man. That's what it says in Proverbs 21.
Now that power can go to a king's head.
Yep.
Did to a lot of kings in Israel. When you got the power to just say fall upon a man, and a man do it, you kind of abuse that, man.
Jeroboam.
Right? You got all these men around you that's obeying you. They're pretty much yes men. Right? And flunkies. They kind of doing what you say, man. Right. You still got to have a man around you that keeps the law. Now, you're going to be kind of, tactical on how you rebuke you. Like Nathan the prophet. He had to rebuke David in the parable, man. Just keep it straight up.
Yeah.
He had to do a parable.
He said,
where he at right now?
Because if he would have came at David wrong, something probably would have happened to him. If he would have came with the wrong spirit and energy behind the rebuke, David probably would have chopped his head off, man.
The Lord set up who he wants for a reason. Nobody knows the reason. Nobody has no idea.
Yeah.
But,
Like Saul.
Yeah.
King David couldn't kill Saul. He couldn't. Because he was the Lord's anointed. David could have got jammed up who did that. So he knew the scriptures. I got it. Let me bring it up. Get 2 Kings 12 and 2.
Right? So book of 2 Kings, chapter 12, and verse 2.
Bring that up.
In the 7th year of Jehu.
2 Kings 12 and 2.
2 Kings 12 and 2.
Okay, it's the second year?
7.
Oh, you start at verse 1.
Yeah.
You can start at verse 2.
God. The book of 2 Kings, chapter 12, and verse 2. And Jehoash. And Jehoash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all his days, wherein Joiada, the priest instructed him.
So he was instructed by a priest, right? From a young age, he was instructed by this priest, Jehoiada. Okay, read on.
Shema. But the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed the burnt incense in the high places.
Right, so the people were still going off. The land wasn't completely righteous.
It's like that didn't really happen to is it Hezekiah or Josiah? I think.
Hezekiah tore down the high places.
And it's Nessa building back. So Hezekiah the one who actually destroyed the high places. A lot of kings they just left them
That's
up.
what's Hezekiah's son, right? Yeah. Verse 3. Yeah, that's crazy. And you're not honoring your father.
Yeah.
Because here it is, your father went through all this hard work to tear down these high places. And you build them back up, man.
I mean, that's hard.
And he was raised in the law. He knew better than that. Madness, man. Keep reading.
Verse 3, but the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. And Joash said to the priests, all the money of the dedicated things that is brought into the house of the Lord, even the money of every one that passeth the account, the money that every man is set at, and all the money that cometh into any man's house to bring into the house of the Lord.
Bring it into the house of the Lord. Right? So that was his decree that he brought out. And they couldn't say, well, no, we got something going on. You know, we got to do this and that. Look, bring it to the house of the Lord, man. Now, the treasurers could have kind of been like, oh, about that, man. All right, now, we're in a bad time. What they going to say? No, he said, bring it to the house of the Lord. Straight up and down.
Getting instructed by a priest too. So.
Yep, he's instructed by the priest that know the law.
He's 7 years old.
Yeah, he don't really know, but the Lord could have put the spirit of wisdom on him at that young age. But again, he don't got the experience, right, to really govern the kingdom like that until he became of age. Because he reigned for 40 years, so obviously he learned it. You know, but he still was instructed by this king or by this priest, Salaki, for the rest of his years of rule.
Right.
You know, because as a king, you can have someone beside you that instruct you and give you instruction. You counselors. The kings had counselors.
Every
Man.
king had a counselor.
You better have a counselor.
And most high get counsel. You know what I'm saying? He got his 12 elders sitting around him. They just talk.
That's pretty.
I got a precept.
For the sake of the narration, I got to say that.
I got precept.
The Lord don't actually need it.
I know he don't need it, but they still have
I
counsel.
got
Bring
order.
it up.
What's this order?
Oh yeah, precept.
Yeah,
You want to go first? You go first.
Nah,
2
it's
Kings
about time.
22 and 8.
You might as well bring it out. Okay.
2 Kings chapter 22, right? And verse 8, right? It says, and Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book of Shaphan and read it. And Shaphan the scribe came down to the king and brought the king word again.
Right, they had to do it in order. Go ahead.
And said, thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house and have delivered it into the hand of them that do the work, that have the oversight of the house of the Lord.
Build up the house of the Lord. Go ahead.
And Shaphan the scribe shewed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest had delivered me a book, and Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes.
See, so you have priests kind of have to tell them, it's like you have priests telling the king about the law again. You know, you have prophets telling the kings about the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, so even the kings have certain people that have to like remind them certain things.
It's like it. That's
Everything's important.
full context of that too. Is this is Manasseh? What's that? That's Josiah. That's Manasseh's son. So it was 55 years of all wickedness.
Yeah.
So he was raised. He had no idea about the law. So he kind of got it. He like, what the hell? He ripped his clothes. Like, what the hell?
He forgot about the
We
law.
breaking the law. And he just kind of ripped his clothes apart. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
He made haste.
Yeah, he forgot about it. You know,
He forgot. He wasn't raised it. He never knew about it. All he knew was whatever. You know what I'm saying? What's going on?
And that's not
Manasseh.
with him.
No, not Manasseh. Josiah.
Okay.
That's a new better, man.
Yeah, that's a new better. Yeah.
Because he being
Break
off.
your clothes after hearing the words of the Lord. That's a repentant mind.
He got mad.
Yeah.
Spirit.
What the hell going on?
Started tearing down everything.
You know, and that's how a lot of Israelites come to the truth.
Yeah.
The priests come before the kings that may not know what it really means to be a king. Then they hear the words of the Lord and say, "Oh, damn, I didn't know that."
Yeah.
You know, I believe in talking to the brother yesterday. He said, I'm not touching that portion.
Because the prophet, he getting a word from the Lord. The king might be going out his own belly. You know, so ultimately you gotta hearken to a prophet. You know, scriptures are revealed to the servants, the prophets. So hearken to the prophets, man.
That's right.
You keep listening to your so-called king, Sloppy Joe, right? Joe Biden. You keep listening to that man, he gonna get you jammed up, man. You listening to damn, who you listening to? Joe Rogan. Tucker.
Dr. Umar.
Yeah, Dr. Brumar.
Dr. Thurman.
He finished, man.
Dr. Thurman.
So stop listening to these men.
Brother
Stop listening to these men. These men are
No
not
light.
prophets. These men are not prophets, kings, or nothing.
Dr.
Man.
Brother, no light.
So with that, right, all praises to Yahweh.
Shema Mashiach, Yahusha.
These are the kings of Israel.